optional. And it's a way to move from confusion and chaos into creating consistent cash flow. Here's the thing that we're hearing so much lately: shift, pivot, adapt, adjust, change, transition. And it's coming to us from all sides. And I would say enough already. You know what? Most people are like, I got it, but how the hell do I do that? Where do I start? What do I do? What do I do first? How do I know when to do what to do? And at the end of the day, is it even worth it? Now, that last question is really more subjective, and you're going to have to come up with that yourself. But there are some things to start looking at to see whether you need to move forward or whether you need to do something else. The problem is, and the biggest threats right now, is that there's this barrage of doomsdayers, and there's this mountain, like a mountain of lousy advice being doled out like candy. And you're just running down these rabbit holes and watching a million different webinars, and all of it's pretty much crap advice. That's leading to bigger issues, which are this wild ass guessing and what I call random acts of business, where you're just sort of throwing things up, hoping that they work, or following the leader. Yeah, let's follow the leader off the cliff because that's a good idea. And then what it's ending up in is desperation marketing. That's what I call desperation marketing, where they're begging because they either need business or they're racing to the bottom with their prices and everything else. And the worst of all are those that just decide to hide and check out. Truth is, all you really want to know is just, how do I fix my business? How do I plug the hole in my boat? And how do I start making income? It really does come down to something that simple. Here's the truth, though, that you need to know is that bad times do not actually break a business. Bad times merely expose a broken business. They expose the holes that you already had in your leaky boat. A lot of businesses already have a leaky boat, and they just don't know it. Some businesses were already out of business. They just didn't know it. So only when we're willing to face the truth and be willing to look at what the reality is can we fix that. For example, and I'm seeing so much of this, realtors, mortgage, and restaurants. And you think, what do they have in common? What they have in common is that most of them have only one or two sources of income leads, which leads them to a more cyclical business where they're swaying with the seasons, hoping and praying something like this doesn't happen. Guess what? It always does. There's always something. Sure, this might be a new level, but there's always going to be these seasons. And every time I've gone into a business, they think they know what the problems are, but a very quick SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. They think they know, but they really don't, because it proves and exposes those holes. But here's the good news. You ready for it? You can ignore 90% of the garbage advice that's being doled out, because it is crap. Forget all that fancy pants nonsense and dancing and things that they have you doing, running down rabbit holes, pivoting like a ping pong ball, and keeping you completely off course with what really works. And what really works are proven, time-tested principles and strategies, and those things don't change. Sure, sometimes the tools, tactics, and tips might change, but the proven things never change. So when I first thought of, I had another business, and when I was first thinking of changing businesses, I started doing all this exploration. So I tried following all these different people, and everybody seemed to have a different piece of advice, and all of these different things, they kept me moving and chasing rabbits and tilting at windmills. The truth was, I just needed to simply slow down, connect back to the mission, choose a lane, and then get some real help from one person who actually knew and proved that they could do what they said they could do. So here's 3 core principles, and they always work. And the thing is, most people don't even have these. These are the basic foundations. When you build your foundation on a mountain of sand, it's eventually going to fall. So number 1, you have to, and you've heard this before, but you have to nail your sweet spot. So many people have heard this, but 90%, and I really say that actually that number is much higher, do not know what their sweet spot is. How do I know that? Because every time I sit in conversations across in networking or these one-on-ones, I will ask that question in some sort or form. And probably 95% cannot answer that with a very clear, concise statement. You have to nail your lane, and you have to nail who your people are, and you have to figure out how you're uniquely positioned in the market. That's number one. Number two, you must solve a big problem. It has to be big enough problem. And here's the key. It can't be what you think the problem is. Because like I said, I know what the problem is a lot of times when I'll go into businesses. But what I really want to know is, what do they think their problem is? Because what you need to solve is their perceived problem. Yes, you're going to solve their big problem, but you have to know what the perceived problem is. And it has to be a big enough problem. That's how you become a must business, not an optional business. They have to know that they have to come to you, that you are the solution to their perceived problem. 90% of the people here, if not more, are completely clueless about what problem they actually have and what problem they actually solve. The business owners don't even really know what problem they're solving. Usually they're using a lot of fluffy language or hypey marketing crap, but you have to get down to the third thing. You have to know the tangible results that you deliver. The tangible, they have to be clearly definable. It can't be some woo-woo nonsense out there, that you're going to manifest this, that, or the other thing, really, because people aren't buying that. What people buy is what they understand. And they also don't buy products and services. They buy solutions and transformation. That's what they really buy. So you have to know those specific tangible results, and you have to be able to succinctly tell others what you do. As we all know, a confused mind won't buy. So here's the key. When you strip all of this down, stop or pause, reflect, refocus, and then take action. Just remember these simple things for now, just for now. One lane, one audience, one problem. That's what we just talked about. One lane, one audience, one problem. And really, I would challenge you to do one solution so that you're not all over the board. So I'm going to leave you with a final thought. So one of my favorite movies, I can't even tell you how many times I've watched it, is Sweet Home Alabama with Reese Witherspoon. I know, I see Lori smiling. So Sweet Home Alabama. And one of my favorite lines is when she is trying to decide between these two guys, and she's like all over the board. And her father simply says to her this: "You can't ride two horses with one ass, sugar bean." So I want to leave you with that thought, because you need to become a must business, not an optional business. And how do you do that? Focus, 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 and proven time-tested principles. So if you're looking for a way quickly to do a quick assessment on your business and a health checkup, as I would call it, or a triage on your business, reach out and send me your email, and I will send you a checklist for this business health checkup that you can do, and some questions that you really need to be asking in order to be able to move forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So everybody who's watching online, I hope you got some value out of this, as well as the people that are here with us live. And we are here every Friday, Nashville Networking Business Luncheon.com. We will see you next time. Thanks so much, everyone.